Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have everyone seated? We have just 20 minutes for this fireside chat. So first of all, I want to thank Fidelity Bank for putting such an awesome event together. Good afternoon, everybody. First, to my left, I'd like to introduce Ms. Dana Banks. If you could just give us 1 minute just to introduce yourself.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, thank you for having me. My name is Dana Banks, and most recently I served as a senior advisor to the U.S. Africa Chamber of Commerce's U.S. Africa Business Center. Also, I think most importantly for this conversation, I was formerly President Biden's Special Assistant and Senior Director for Africa at the National Security Council at the White House. I'm also, thank you, and responsible for the 2022 U.S. Africa Leaders Summit and the Business Forum in Washington, D.C. And overall, I was a 25-year senior Foreign Service officer and diplomat with the State Department, serving mostly on the continent of Africa and working on Africa policy in Washington.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. All right, I have the pleasure of introducing Mrs. Noya Ayeni. She's a DG for Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Please give her a round of applause. So this afternoon, we're going to be talking about trade promotion and facilitation, laying the tracks, strengthening the institutional infrastructure for Africa trade. So let me start with you, Mrs. Ayeni. You took on this role roughly about 2 years ago. Can you tell me, based on what was on ground, what has the Nigerian Export Promotion Council done since then to improve the access to market for Nigerian exporters?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to commend Fidelity Bank for being very dynamic and for taking bold steps and what they do in the non-oil export space. That's an outstanding bank when it comes to non-oil export. So thank you very much for the question. My name is Noya Ayeni. I'm the Executive Director, CEO of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC. Like you know, Nigerian Export Promotion Council is the agency of the government established 49 years ago to promote the development of non-oil export. And when we're talking about non-oil export, it cuts across agro products, it cuts across services, and solid minerals. So back to your question, there's a lot that we have done. Okay, so let me say that we build the capacity of exporters from the farm gate to market access, developing products, different products from the farm gate. We build their capacity, equipping them with the tools and the skills that they require to be able to play competitively in the global market. We train them different trainings on good agricultural practices, on branding, on packaging and labeling. And we've also been able to help them to acquire international certification. This year alone, in the last 1 year, we've done 200. We have already been able to certify 200 exporters, and they've been able to expose their goods, and they've been able to begin to export to niche markets and other global markets. We've also been able to take them to the market, creating market access and linkages. We've taken some exporters to Europe, to Asia, to America. And let me start by saying it won't be good for me not to talk about certain things. Nigerian non-oil export, like you said, let me start by saying Nigeria is blessed with enormous potentials. You know, Nigeria is a country that's blessed with human capital as well as material resources. This is a country, there's no other country in the world that has over 1,000 agricultural products and derivatives. We also have 44 solid minerals. Of course, you talk about services, which is one area that we should be talking about when we're talking about services. We have the entertainment industry, the creative industry. You talk about future music, entertainment, fashion. When it comes to fashion, Nigeria stands tall. So there's a lot of opportunities, so much opportunity. Nigeria is the largest producer of hibiscus, the third largest producer of sesame in the world, the fourth largest producer of cocoa. We are the highest producer of shea. I'm sure some of you wearing cosmetics. Nigeria actually produces 50% of shea in the world. Nigerian leather is the best in the industry. So so just name it. Any product that you can see in the country, in any country that is demanded in the country, we have it in abundance across all the states of the Federation. So what we are doing, we work with our exporters, working with various stakeholders and other players in the industry, some agencies. Next MD is here. So we're able to take them to the market, and Nigerian non-oil export has grown. In the last 1 year, it's the 2024 year-on-year growth of 20.7% to record $5.4 billion US. That's the highest ever since Nigerian Export Promotion Council was established in 49 years ago, and the highest ever recorded as formal documented trade in Nigeria. I think we deserve a clap. And that upward trajectory still continues. The first half of the year, we recorded another 19.7%. So we exported 243 products to 226 countries. And that is outstanding. So that's the story. Thank you very much.
DG, this is most amazing. Thank you so much. Under your watch. So let me turn over to you, Dana. So there are thoughts about AGOA going away by the end of this month. What kind of opportunities exist in terms of infrastructure to continue to push this narrative?
Thank you for that question. And as Madam CEO just pointed out, there are so many opportunities in Nigeria and across the continent. And so if, unfortunately, our legislators should see fit not to reauthorize the African Growth and Opportunity Act legislation, that does not mean it's the end of trade and investment with the continent. Because it actually, I believe, and many others also, that it presents an opportunity, right? An opportunity, whereas perhaps market access that was facilitated under AGOA could actually shift into new opportunities for market access. Even with all of the headwinds that we are seeing now as it relates to tariffs and other things, it's this type of engagement that you're seeing here at AFRICON. It's this type of engagement at the subnational level between cities like Atlanta, states like Georgia and Nigeria, facilitating those trade promotion and coordination ties and leveraging all of the opportunities that exist in Nigeria, for example, or across the continent. When we look at such a youthful population, an innovative population, I mean, the panels alone here today speak to that in fashion, in culture, in arts, in services as well. We need not forget that services count for a large portion of trade and investment with the United States. And it's something that, again, we tried to definitely amplify and push that narrative during the last U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit and Business Forum. And there was such a swell, and there continues to be. I just look at it as it was the spark to really amplify the momentum and to keep it going of increasing trade and investment between the United States and Africa. And one other angle I'll just touch on, but it's really important, and again speaks to those who have gathered here today, is the diaspora. The role that the African diaspora in the United States plays in increasing and facilitating trade with the continent to help shift the narrative that Africa is indeed a viable market, emerging market, and not just an emerging market, by the way. It has emerged, and it is growing, and it is in our interests as American investors, as consumers, to really strengthen those ties. Because as we've seen, if the United States is not there, if our investors are not there, then there are others who are willing to fill that gap. So we look to, if AGOA should, unfortunately, not be reauthorized, I think there are opportunities for banks like Fidelity Bank, for other investors, for private capital, for venture capital, private equity, high net worth individuals, philanthropy, to come in, and they already are. And these are conversations that I have seen take place, have been a part of in Washington at the national level. So again, it's important to know so that, people who are entrepreneurs and young startups have access and connect to those streams of funding, because that is the next stage of what happens after after something like AGOA may go away.
Thank you, Dana. DG, as we look forward into 2026 and with all the tariffs that are coming in, where do you see FNITCC playing, especially when you see the exporters who are hungry to bring their products out to the U.S. market?
I think the export to various countries will continue to increase, and even in the United States. Let me speak specifically to the United States, since that's your question. You will see that last year we increased in terms of the volume of export and also the value of export to the United States. And it will surprise you to know that for non-oil export in 2024, United States was the second export destination from Nigeria, aside from oil. So the non-oil is increasing. We have urea and fertilizer, we have cocoa, we have shea, we have other products. And the interesting thing is that we added additional 4 products. We exported 43 items. I'm talking about documented formal trade. If you look at the other ones going informally, it's over 120. So we have a lot of products. So America, United States still remain a very good destination ground. And Nigeria, like I said, we have a lot of products, and our exporters are doing amazing things. You look at cocoa, you look at cashew, you look at so many products coming in. But what we need also is, if I may speak, is to look at a station instead of exporting raw. We need to collaborate with American importers to be able to set up factories so we can add value. And it's only when we add value to our products we're able to earn premium pricing in the global market. We have those products, and there's going to be cheap labor in Nigeria. So if this investment is brought and they set up factories in Nigeria, they have the products from all the states, they have cheap labor, and they're able to produce. For instance, why are we exporting raw cocoa? They can do that in Nigeria and export it. So I see a positive outlook. There's a positive outlook. There's going to be increase in the non-oil export that's going to United States moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Dana, in terms of the infrastructure that is in place today, just based on the question we asked, what can we expect to see?
So we talked a little bit about the challenges that are presenting opportunities, but I think that, again, if you look at the overall sort of the regulatory environment for the United States, there are mechanisms that are still in place and that still exist that investors can take advantage of, such as Exim Bank, the Development Finance Corporation, the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, and these are the organs that have been and will continue to be fit for purpose to work. At least I hope, and not being in government any longer, I cannot say for sure, but I hope that they will still be in place. But I think, again, if we're looking at opportunities to be born out of challenges, it will take that direct connection, because investors want reassurance. They like stability. They want to know that whatever they're investing in, that they can depend on those orders. And sometimes, I would say, actually, most times, what it takes is taking them to where the thing or the item is being produced so they can see it with their own eyes. So again, a lot of engagement, direct engagement, is what needs to be facilitated in this moment to help assuage and concerns about investors and to spur more investment. Nothing beats going to the source to see all of the opportunities that are available. You mentioned, Madam CEO, about value-added processing, on the continent instead of just exporting the raw materials. Court the investors, the potential investors, and have them come and see it for themselves, and to see the opportunities that abound. So I think it's building new architecture, building new infrastructure, even with the existence of the regulatory regime in place. It really will take, this direct engagement from African governments and institutions with investors directly to lead the way in this next era.
Thank you so much, Dana. And I think one thing I'd like to add there is just what Fidelity Bank is doing. You can't go very far from what they're doing. They're bridging the gap They're bringing investors to the table. They're bringing buyers to meet with the vendors as well. Just this 2 days alone, we have had probably about 25, 30 businesses pitch to buyers, both virtually and in person and in the deal rooms, which is what we didn't have before. So I think with more engagement and thanks to Fidelity Bank, I think we're going to see more of this kind of activities going on. We're going to see more products on the shelves in the U.S. market. And most importantly, we're going to be able to tap into a lot of all these opportunities, not just even in the U.S., but in the Caribbean as well. And what I do say is, you know what, our movies have gotten us out there. Our fashion has gotten us out there. Our music is everywhere. So it's time that our food not stay in the African stores, but they need to be in mainstream America, and that is what Fidelity is doing for us right now. So I want to say thank you very much for all that you're doing. If you had one more thing to add to this, Mrs. Noya, what would it be?
Okay, thank you for that opportunity. I was hoping you would give me this opportunity. I would like to say 3 things. One, I can't step out of here without, because it's something that makes us proud. Nigeria has been selected to host the Intra-African Trade 2027. That's the first time that it's being held in West Africa. Nigerian Export Promotion Council and Exim Bank and some other, Lagos State, yes, and under the able leadership of our Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, we won that. And it's going to bring a lot of investment to the country. The last one we had in Algeria, over $40 billion deal was signed, and about 50,000 visitors and buyers. So that's going to bring a lot of investment to the country, and it's going to blossom Nigeria and particularly Lagos. We're going to have it in National Theatre in Lagos. That's one thing I needed to add. Then I also like to talk about WTO launched a program they call the WIDE, Women Exporter in Digital Economy, and I'm proud to announce that Nigerian Export Promotion Council was the that won it, and the only one out of the 4 BSOs in the world. And this is a program, an outstanding program by World Trade Organization. They are empowering 146 women. They will get grants between $5,000 and $30,000, and beside the grants, they are going to be trained for both locally and internationally for 12 to 18 months. I think that's an outstanding one. And finally, I can't step out here without talking about AFCFTA, because Nigeria is going to be a hub in AFCFTA. And AFCFTA promises to be the largest single market in Africa, connecting 55 countries with about 1.3, 1.4 billion people, with a combined GDP of 3.4 billion US dollars. So this is an opportunity for us as Nigerians. This is an opportunity for investors, for private institutions to partner with Nigeria to be able to enter into 55 African countries. And this is outstanding. So Nigeria, for us, the trajectory for non-oil export is upwards. We're doing a lot in informal trade, but I know because of time we won't be able to talk about it. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, Fidelity.
Last words from you, Dana?
I don't even know if there's anything else to add to that, except to say I align myself with everything you just said, particularly on the opportunities. Thank you for mentioning the AFCFTA. It's something that we focused on as well as we increased, U.S. government engagement with the AFCFTA, because it is the framework that our African partners have decided on how they will trade with each other. And I can just say personally, I'm so glad. It's definitely overdue, past time. And so now that our African partners have set the agenda on trade and investment, it is now time for American investors to meet them where they are. And I'm excited about the opportunities. This is indeed the time to invest and trade with Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to Mrs. Ayeni and Mrs. Dana Banks. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.